No abbreviations whatsoever? Okay, no problem, by user MaliciousCompliance. Recently, my quality assurance has handed down a new policy that we are not to use any abbreviations in our call notes whatsoever. Shorthand is not permitted. I work in a call center taking information for admissions of new medical clients. So the people reading my charts/notes will be medical professionals. The only abbreviations used are those commonly known in the practice, such as IOP, intensive outpatient, ASAP, who doesn't know this, etc., come on now. So I have adopted their rule to the letter. I wrote every single thing out that would typically be abbreviated. Sometimes the notes require that times be recorded. Example, I set the callback expectation for by 10 a.m. In my most recent scoring I was marked off for using spelling errors in notes. When I requested a review of my score, my supervisor advised me that writing anti-Mary DM was what caused me to lose points. I kindly cited the new rule that requires no abbreviations be used. My supervisor stated that he had never heard the term anti-Mary DM before. I explained what it meant, being the long form of the term AM. My score was amended to reflect no error was made. Boss says the time reported by the punch system is law, watch me use the law to my advantage, by user OK_Ganeshe 2137. Not a 100% this qualifies as malicious compliance, but here goes. 8 or 9 years ago, I was baker at a popular fast food chain in my country. I always been a model employee, so one day I was surprised the manager asked me into her office. She reprimanded me because I had taken a 45 minutes, instead of 30, break one day the previous week. I remembered that day, and indeed I had taken more than 30 minutes, 31 minutes to be exact, and that was because on my way back, someone had a concern that I took the time to resolve. I explained that to her but she was adamant that the system rounded to the nearest 15 minutes and that if it said 45 minutes, then there was no way I could have only been 1 minute late. She made it clear that it was my fault and that the punch system is law since it can't lie. On my next shift, I looked into it. On the punch system, there is a way to see at what time you punched. I realized that the system was not rounding the amount of time you worked/were on break, but rather the time at which you punched. What happened that day was that I punched out at 10h22, rounding to 10h15, and got back 31 minutes later at 10h53, rounding to 11h, hence the 45 minutes break. Now in my position, I had the luxury of choosing when to go on break as long as they didn't run out of anything during that time. From that day till the day I switched job a few months later, I made sure to go on break just after the cutoff, and back just before the next one. For instance, punching out at 10h08, rounding to 10h15, and back in at 10h52, rounding to 10h45. I thus ended up with 44 minutes break, that according to the system were only 30 minutes long. One time, a supervisor told me that it seemed like I was gone for a bit longer than usual. I replied that she saw me punching in and out, and that she could go confirm in the system if she wanted to. Never heard from it after that. TLDR, was chewed on because of a weird quirk of the punch system, learned how to use it to my advantage and had 14 minutes extra on all my breaks. Edit, the manager was also under the impression that the system rounded the amount of break time to the nearest 15 minutes, not the ins and outs. That's also what they tell during recruitment, hence why I initially thought that's how it worked. The supervisor who noticed was a part-timer, not the same person as the manager. I also don't think they actually cared, just found it strange. Before leaving, I did share the trick with a few co-workers, but since cashiers have a supervisor that coordinate break time, they can't really be late. For them, 1 minute late is actually noticed by someone, let alone 14. Update. Boss told me to deep clean the back, and to not come to front for any reason so I did, by user do_bean. Starting off, sorry for not updating on Friday, 10th, like I said I would, life got in the way plus several events have happened. This will be a decent size update. Friday rolled around after I was coming back from the small vacation I had. The location had no service. I greeted some of the servers I'm cool with and they all gave me an oh crap look since apparently, my boss had been trying to call me to come, open and close on Wednesday, and Thursday. Obviously, I didn't know this since I had no service where I had been at the time. I make my way to the boss expecting to get a freak out from him which surprisingly he didn't have. He welcomed me back and asked a couple common questions about my trip. After 5 minutes of talking he springs on me since you didn't come in on Wednesday and Thursday, you need to come in Monday and Tuesday of next week to which I replied, did you schedule me for those days? And he immediately replies with, "No, but I know you have nothing to do since you're just a teen." At this point my face just looked like I had seen a bear, riding a bicycle while juggling bowling pins. Oh. I was absolutely amazed at how those words came out of his mouth with such ease, like he really believed he had any sort of power over me. I paused for a moment and said, "No, I don't think I will be doing that since I'm not currently scheduled on those days. I will not show up on those days." He then tried to argue that he had to come in, on his days off to cover my shifts. I learned from the servers that he never showed up. The last thing I said to him before I started working was, "This isn't my problem, hire more people." And walked off. Saturdays, 11th. Today was looking like it was going to be pretty mundane: busy floor, a lot of food needing to be run, tables that need to be put back together, pretty usual tasks of the job until my boss showed up and started barking orders even though the restaurant was very packed and we needed all hands on deck. But obviously, that's not what he wanted. He could care less if the restaurant went to the toilet, all he cared about was being in control. The boss tells me and a server to go clean the storage closet, and if we don't we can just be cut. We both reluctantly go and do it since he had 4 tables to attend to and I wanted to help him so he wouldn't get bad tips just because a man-child wants to give tasks that can be done later and lay it out on the table for us to see. Super Bowl Sunday, 12th, was supposed to be a really slow day since we don't have any TVs on the walls and we don't serve bar food. But as soon as church got out we were super slammed to the point you couldn't see the front door. It stayed like that until 3 p.m. and I was just ready to leave, so I did. I clocked out on time as you would at any other job, and my boss saw that and said, "You are not being a team player right now. You are just going abandon ship just like that." To which I reply, "Well, yet, you only have me for the time scheduled, not for when it's convenient for you. I have no problem working over the time I'm scheduled for, but I just can't with his snarky remarks and annoying temper tantrums he has on the daily. I'm just very done with him, so why would I go above and beyond for him? Plus it was the Super Bowl, and of course, I had plans. I wanted to hang out with my friends and not work." Thursday, 16th. I received an email from the new place I'm going to be working at and I got the job. The new job will be paying me $16/HR, double of what I've been making. I also start Monday. I had gone to work the same day and told my boss I will not be able to put my 2 weeks in. However, I will work through this Sunday and that will be my last day working for you. I hope that is enough time for you, so you can find my replacement, and if this doesn't work for you, I can always make my last day be today. Since Texas doesn't require employees and employers to submit a 2-week resignation. He starts to freak out since Monday, Thursday of next week, the restaurant has a bunch of large reservations. He replies with, "If you stay with us, I can give you a big raise for all your hard work." My eyebrows raise since there is no way that his raise will match my new employer's rate. Intrigued, I ask, "How much were you thinking of giving me?" Drumroll, clears throat, "I can give you a 0.25% raise which will make your paychecks a little bit heavier." I am dumbfounded, my brain packed up and jumped off my head. This was the best deal I could have gotten ever. Screw the new job who can say no to an extra $20 to their paycheck. Kidding, uneasy face. I politely declined and told him I had already made up my mind, and for the rest of my shift, he was in the office scrambling around posting job listings and looking for applications. It's really crazy how someone goes from being a complete dictator to a servant when they lose their power. These last 2 days he's been nothing but cupcakes and sunshine because he knows I can leave whenever I like. Thank y'all for reading. I will try to post an update this Sunday on my last day working here if there is a big enough event. I'm replaceable? Fine. Then find someone else during a shortage, by usercan_the_wizard. So I worked in a school district and have gone above and beyond for students and teachers in the past 2 years. I got into a big argument defending my co-workers and myself from being overworked, as well as cattiness from certain teachers and the VP. The VP pulled me in and gaslit me, saying that everything is my fault for riling up all the other staff, and then said that we are all replaceable. Oh, I'm replaceable during an education shortage? After that I decided to quit and be a substitute teacher in a few districts, including the one I left. Ever since I left it has been a shit show for them, as 3 other people left after me and the couple people they got to replace aren't even showing up to work. Best part is, I get to show up almost every day to sub and make more money while being good at what I do and happy. Edit, cattiness, no golf was played. Edit 2, I was a paraprofessional, not a teacher. Do not leave your classroom without asking permission, by user middle_pound_822. This happened yesterday. I teach at a public school. Occasionally, in the hallway I teach in, there is an overwhelming sewage smell. Normally it's an inconvenience, but not so drastic we have to move rooms. Yesterday, it was the worst I've ever experienced since I started teaching at this school. Teachers immediately tried to move their classrooms, get out of the hallway, etc. etc. One class moved into the principal's conference room, and from the gist of it, our principal was livid that her space was invaded. We received an email stating that we are not to move our classes without notifying our supervisor. Now that seems logical. However, the email went on to say that we are not allowed to leave our room to stroll, visit another classroom, etc. etc. without speaking to our supervisor or the front office. I was absolutely fired up when I read this email. I wanted to make her regret sending it as quickly as possible. I notified everyone in my hallway that they should be calling the office every time they needed to use the bathroom. I encouraged as many teachers as possible to constantly be calling to notify of their movement around campus. Within 2 hours I had called the front office 4 times, once even just to let them know I was walking down to the front office. Most the teachers in my building called a couple times. Once, when the main receptionist was on lunch and another support staff was covering for her, I called to let them know I was going to the bathroom and the woman on the other end sounded so confused. "Do you need something?" she awkwardly asked. I explained it was that per the email it was expected for us to notify the office of our bathroom breaks. She chuckled and told me to have a good time. Within 3 hours we received another staff-wide email explaining some clarification and that we should not call the office if we need to go to the bathroom, have a stroll on campus, or visit another teacher's classroom. I walked down to the office later that day with the biggest grin on my face and every support staff knew exactly why I was so happy. We all had a good laugh. One of the support staff said to me that the principal said I didn't mean it literally. If you are going to put something in writing to a group of professional educators, and be aggressive and rude about it, you better know exactly what you are saying.